and it let out this blood-curdling, guttural scream.
On the side of the road, he sees a deer carcass and something eating on it, which he thought was a bear. And as the lights hit it, it stood up. And, like, this gives me chills talking about it. He said it stood up and it had the face of a man.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Bigfoots of America podcast show. This is episode 16. And today, man, am I excited about today. You know, in other episodes, I've said, hey, I've known this guy some time and, we connected a few years back. But this guy I'm having on today, he's a new friend. And let me tell you right now, his name is George Lunsford, and he is an author of all things paranormal. I'm going to hold up a couple of his books right here, and they are spectacular. You can buy these on Amazon. So check these out. I've got another book here, Legends, Myth, and Monsters and Ghosts. This one here is Monsters of the World Reference Guide. I've been thumbing through this, with my fairy encounter. We're out in the woods, filming the TV pilot series Bigfoots of Michigan, and it's been so helpful to me. But I met George. We're doing a podcast show twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays, on the Channel 12 TV network out of Las Vegas, and it's called the NCI Team. And George and his team have allowed me to partake and be a member of their team on Tuesdays and Thursday nights to talk about all things paranormal. So now, with all that said, we're going to dig deep into it tonight. We're probably maybe even going to do 2 episodes. So let me try to bring George in right now.
How you doing?
Hey, George, you there?
Oh, yeah, I'm here.
Oh, man, good to see you. All right, cool.
Very gracious
Good to
introduction.
see
I
you.
appreciate that.
You're welcome, man. You're worth it. We kind of hit it off, and immediately, the light bulbs went in my brain. Like I always say, holy crap, this guy is an encyclopedia. This guy, like, I don't know. I'm serious, George. I don't know if I know anyone who has dug as deep as you have in the paranormal. I'm mainly a Bigfoot guy, but then, one of the things we first talked about was my fairy encounter. Now, I'm a guy, I've had dreams and visions, my whole life. And so transitioning into Bigfoot is really no big deal. But when I was laying on my bed and I opened my eyes to find a fairy hovering over my face, my whole concept of reality changed. Oh, yeah. It's
I believe
amazing.
it, yeah. It had to. It couldn't not. You know what I mean? Because we're all brought up in a world where we see what, we only believe what we can see or what we can touch. Well, there's a lot more world out there than that.
Exactly. So now, like I tell all my eyewitnesses, really, this is your episode, George. And I'm a funny guy, as an actor and just the way I grew up, I always want to know what makes people tick. So, yeah, you're an author, you've had your Bigfoot sightings, but I kind of want to know what happened before that? What led you into this subject? Because I'm going to tell you right now, most of the population still doesn't believe in this stuff. They're warming up to UFOs and all of that. Yeah, but if I tell, so I haven't told many people that I've seen a fairy because I don't want to be construed as crazy. So let's talk about you and how you got into this. Man, it is a bigger subject than I ever imagined. So, George, please go ahead, give us your story.
Well, I've always been considered crazy, or not quite right anyway. I was the wild child growing up, and I what's funny is I hung out with my Uncle Charlie. My aunt, he's my Aunt Jeannie's husband, and he always read science fiction and listened to rock and roll music. I mean, AC/DC, Black Sabbath, all this. And I grew up around all that because I stayed over their house a lot because I loved the sci-fi stuff. I loved to read. I loved science fantasy and all that. We used to watch all those kind of movies. And I went with my mom and dad to a drive-in, and we saw The Legend of Boggy Creek
Mm.
in the 70s.
Yeah,
And
man.
with me, I was hooked on Bigfoot from that moment on. I believed in it. I didn't ever say much. I kept most of it to myself, but I read every book I could find on Bigfoot. I read. Of course, that leads. If you do that, you lead into ghosts. You lead into UFOs. You lead into everything. It's like it opens up one little door, and everything expanses there.
Right.
And then when I was in my late teens, I still live in homes. This is my late teens. My grandmother passed away. And when she passed away, the night she passed away, I was laying in my bed and I felt something. I woke up and it was my great grandmother sitting on the end of my bed. And I thought, I must be dreaming because I could see through her. She was translucent. But I could smell her perfume or the soap she used, whatever it was. I could smell that smell, her scent. And I looked, I said, "Hey, Granny." And she said, "I just wanted to tell you I'm going home and I love you." I said, "Okay, I love you too." She said, "Now you going back to sleep." So I went back to sleep, woke up. The next day we found out she had passed away. And I'm thinking this is a dream the whole time. I walked back in my bedroom and I could smell it again, her scent again.
Mm.
Well, different things happened throughout my life, all kinds of. I led an interesting life. Let's leave it that much. And in the military, I was on aft lookout and I seen a UFO. But I wasn't sure what it was. I thought it was it was about 8 miles away in the dead middle of the Atlantic Ocean. I seen lights, a line of lights. I thought, that's a submarine con tower. I was looking at it through the binoculars, but there was no water disturbance. Nothing was touching the lights. The lights were above the water. There was no connection to the lights in the water. Then it started moving back and forth. And it kept pace with the ship like this for about 5 minutes. And then, out of nowhere, this thing lit up everything and shot straight up in the air and was gone. And I get a call on the radio, "You didn't see nothing." Okay. So we never talked about it. And stuff like this happened. I died one time for a short period of time. And after that, for about 15, 20 years, I could see ghosts and talk to them, and they would show up in my car. I could see them going down the road. Where somebody had an accident, I'd be driving by and they'd show up in my car, almost like they needed permission to go on.
Wow.
And that happened for quite a long time. And I was an actor for like 15 years part-time.
Nice.
So I had all the acting stuff going on, the ghost thing going on. It was just a really weird thing. And I decided I wanted to hunt Bigfoot. I finally got hooked up with some people that would go with me. I hooked up with Robert Effler. And he was a Bigfoot hunter with Bigfoot 911 down in Marion. So me and him hit it off. I mean, since we met, it's like we knowed each other for all our lives. And we started NCI. And we gained more people. We got Tim, and we started going Bigfoot hunts. And that's when we met Harley and Tim and Matthew and all the guys. You've talked to all of them.
Yep.
And I guess I'll tell you my first experience with Bigfoot, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
We went on a hunt in East Tennessee. We got there, and son, the second we got out of the car, we started finding sign. We found twist brakes, and we'd go up a little bit while we'd see an X. We seen a beautiful, it'd been a tree probably about that big around. They bent it all the way over and anchored the end of it and had a big old archway.
Wow.
We were looking at it, and we started smelling something. And Hardy's going to kill me, by the way. We started smelling something. We walked over, and the bottom part of this tree, halfway through the tree, was all black, and it stunk bad. And old Harley gets down there, and he's got his nose up close to it. He smelled it. He's going, and it was a dogman piss post.
Oh my.
And we walked around the backside of it. We found a dogman print. It was that big.
Oh my goodness. Now, how tall, real quick, how tall? So if you find a print that big, because I got to go out to near the Grand Rapids, Michigan area and interview a lady who has been around dogmen her whole life. So if you find a footprint that size of a dogman, how tall you think that thing is?
He was probably pushing 7.5, maybe 8 feet.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
And we started really pushing through. We found the best Bigfoot ambush area I've ever seen in my life, and it's still better than anything we've seen so far. They had stood logs up. There was a game trail this way, a game trail this way, and one this way, and they put it right in that corner where they all met. And it was logs standing up, but they kind of tipped at the top and met. And I could get in there and hold my arms up, and I'm 6 foot tall. Hold my arms up, I wouldn't even come close to the top of it.
Wow.
And I had it set up to where the opening was right there where all those game trails come together. If you figure if it was 8 foot tall, it could reach across that game trail. So anything that come through, it could grab it, pull it inside there with no problem.
Wow. Would you say deer? So real quick, would you say deer are probably their number one food source?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's like just because the abundance of deer and the fact that they can kill them so easily. I mean, we found evidence of them breaking their necks, breaking their ribs, breaking their arms off, their legs off, and leave them laying until they get back to them. Okay. And we found in this same area where we was at, we also found an area where they had been running them. They'd find like a herd or 4 or 5 deer, and they'd run them down an area that they had set up. And when they made the turn, that's when they got them. You could see where the deer had ran and where it looked like a struggle, and the rest of them made it off. Wow. And we made our way through. We checked a bunch of stuff out. And we come over this little hill, and we heard something in the woods in front of us just up to the right-hand side. And as we moved up that way, we found it was kind of muddy. We found a fresh dogman track had slid, and the water was just now coming back into the print. We've been pushing him the whole time. Wow. When we left that, we went through up there. We didn't see nothing else. We seen all kinds of other stuff. We were coming back, and we got up to this one point, and old Harley punches me. He said, "Hey, why don't we go down this flat and come up on the other side over there?" I said, "Okay, we can do that." And Robert said, "We're going to go down the trail." So him and his wife went down the trail to the left of us. Me and Harley goes down in this flat. We go down in the flat area. We're going through. We found an area down there looked like it had been watered out. And we found some bear scat, which, it's bear, so no big deal. Then we come up this hill. And as we come up this hill, there's another hill right across from us. There's a little valley of laurel bushes there. As we're coming up the hill, we get even. Harley says, "There he is." I was like, "There's what, Harley?" He said, "That's a Bigfoot." I said, "Harley, that's a shadow, son." He said, "I'm telling you, it's a Bigfoot." And it was a big black, looked like a shadow to me. But it was a kind of overcast day, been snowing off and on. And I said, "I still think it's a shadow." He said, "Just keep an eye on it. I'm going to go down this valley and see if I can get a closer look." I said, "Okay, Harley." So I'm watching it. I'm not really thinking anything about it. I'm kind of skeptical still. And he gets down in there. He probably 14 foot down the hill. He steps on a branch and it pops like a shotgun. Pow! When he did, my shadow reached its arm up and grabbed the tree and stretched all the way full length tall to look over to see where he was at. So it leans all the way forward, and my eyes get real big, and the adrenaline starts hitting me, and he stands straight up and goes backwards. He has shoulders that's like this. He comes up you don't see a neck. You see a conical head. You see huge, massive body, 4 foot across the shoulders at least. I mean, he was a monster. He had hair sticking up on top of his head like this, so we nicknamed him Alfalfa. So I get excited, and I go, excuse my language, I go, oh, shit, I took off after him. I went down the hill, I passed Harley, and he's gone. Kind of expected he would be. And we heard him go off down, and he had a perfect area. He was on top of this hill, and on this hill, he had 2 big trees right where we were at, where he was beside us.
Okay.
He had laurel bushes behind him, and all the way down this little corridor he had set up was laurel bushes on each side, so you can't see either side. You couldn't see up where he was at. And at the very end of it, he had an open spot on both sides, left and right side. So we looked real quick, and I measured where he was at because I seen where his head was on the limb. So I measured it up. It was 8.5 feet.
Wow.
We found 3 perfect toe marks. So the adrenaline's going. I'm excited still. We take off down this corridor, and we get a call from Robert. What are you guys doing? Something's tearing the woods up. 3 crows flew over top of his head like a bullet. And he said it's like a freight train moving through the woods because we scared the Bigfoot. So we thought he dropped off to the left-hand side. So we dropped off, and we hit a laurel thicket we couldn't hardly get through. We couldn't see. All we could see was the laurel. All I kept thinking was, he's going to kill us right here because we couldn't see him. But he had stopped. As soon as he seen Robert, he stopped in his place. And we dropped off to the left-hand side. He heard us hit that laurel. So he curled back behind us on the other side of that hill and let us go on away from him.
Wow. They're not dumb. And they have us outgunned. You know, they know their surroundings. Like I always say, they see us, they hear us, they smell us before we even get in the area, and then they just know how to outfox us.
Oh yeah, I mean they are true masters of their environment, without a doubt whatsoever. And man, ever since then, I've had the fever so bad I can't stand it. I want to see. I can't see them. If I see their head or something, I count as a scene. So I've seen 5 so far. I've seen 2 little ones and 3 big ones.
Wow.
Well, 2 little ones, 2 big ones, and 1 teenager.
So they run in family clans.
Yeah, because the last hunt we went last Saturday. Yeah, last Saturday, he had to be a teenager because it was where he went up the bank. He left a beautiful footprint, 12 inches long. I think it was 6.5 inches wide. He went up the hill and then come back down the hill right beside where he went up. And you can see where his foot heel had slid and his toes grabbed the dirt.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you, to show you how smart they are, this thing had areas set up down there where we pulled our vehicles off the road, and it was watching us from the time we got there.
Oh, my goodness.
He watched us get out of the trucks, go see his footprints, because they were still fairly fresh. We went up. We was followed by a dog man after we got up there because we could smell him, and we didn't see him, but we could feel him more than anything. And it's a different smell with a dog man than it is a Bigfoot. and we found a beautiful dogman prints. So we got our camera set up, and we went up and did some more exploration. Run into some dude that it was kind of an odd situation. The guy come out from down the hill where we was at, and his eyes were like this big around. Like he was scared to death. He was nervous and looking around and very anxious. But he never said anything scared him. He was just anxious. Okay. And he said he had been digging ramps, but I didn't smell the ramps. Usually you could smell ramps, but I didn't smell them. Tim said that if they'd been green enough, we may not have smelled them. But this guy, usually if you meet somebody in the woods, they'll talk for a minute or two. Son, he was gone. He come by us. We had dropped our backpacks on down the trail. And there was an area I wanted to go, so Tim and Robert went on down the trail to watch the backpacks. Me and Jerry went up the hill. And we was up there, and two places we had found was bedding areas before I was going to show Jerry. We got up there, we found one, it was old. And we found the other one, something had ripped it to shreds, destroyed the bedding area. And we started up the hill, and something told me, don't go no farther. It was almost like somebody put a hand on my chest. So I stopped, and I was like, Jerry, I don't like this. And he looked at me kind of funny. I said, we ain't going no farther, man. He's like, why? And I showed him, and all the hair on my arm was standing straight up.
Okay.
I said, we got to go. I said, you know as well as I do, when you're Bigfoot hunting, you better go with your gut.
Yeah, yeah.
So we started leaving, and Jerry's like, oh, crap. I said, what's wrong? He said, I looked, all the hair on both of his arms was standing up. He's like, we got to go. I said, we are going. But that was the same place we got growled at by a big female where he's seen the little ones.
Wow. So they are like family structures, and then you've had multiple sightings. And something I have been on lately, and I don't necessarily know why, but my thought process has been leaning more towards, I wonder how many different types of Sasquatch there are. Because there's not just one type. I got done interviewing Sean Pettit out of Oklahoma, and he said his looked like a man in the face. There were no ape features or anything animalistic about it. It was like a big man. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I think there's a bunch of different types of them. I really, truly do. I mean, if you just look at the body shape of them, you look at the skunk ape, you look at the ones down in Australia, the yowie, you look at the big Sasquatches like in Canada and Washington and all that. They're huge. I mean, you're talking 12 feet, 6 feet wide through the shoulders, just one big muscle. Then you look at the ones like down in Florida, they're tall and skinny. They have a totally different look to them. You look at the ones like the Yeti, they actually look more like a Gigantopithecus than they do a Bigfoot. They have the offset big toe. I mean, there's so many. I think they're just like humans. There's just different kinds of them everywhere.
Okay, yeah, and that would explain all the different colors. I mean, we've talked about this before. I've said it many, many times. I live in what I call the Bigfoot Triangle here in the thumb of Michigan. Every eyewitness I've talked to encounters all the data I'm collecting. We've got every color. We've got a white one. We've got a silver one. We've got black ones, pitch black. And then we've got a dark brown kind of looking like a beaver. And then I've got the reddish ones. Actually, two different types of reddish color, one being more of a Carhartt orange, and then another one being more of a maroon auburn color. And then, like I said, we've got the lighter brown ones, even to the point of a sandy blonde one. What colors have you seen?
I've seen the solid black ones. I've seen the reddish, I guess reddish brown. That's the only two I've seen. But the little ones, I only seen the first little one for such a short period of time. He looked like he was a reddish brown. but he was
Okay.
moving so fast. Oh my Lord! I, any track star would be envious how fast that little sucker moved because he was up. He moved 30 feet before I could blink and was dropped down on all fours and disappeared.
Wow. Real quick. I'm going to interview this season for season 3, hopefully. A guy, and I won't mention his name right now. I haven't signed any release forms yet, but he believes they may have two hearts. And to me, that would explain their power, their speed, their durability, their agilities. What are your thoughts? Have you ever heard that? Like maybe two hearts or an extra compartment?
I haven't heard that, but I mean, it sounds reasonable for that size. I mean, they're huge for that
Yeah,
size. I mean, even if their heart's just oversized compared to ours, that would make up the difference with the breathing, the agility, the endurance, everything. So yeah, I mean, two hearts or a big heart, either way, would make
right,
sense.
right. Let's talk about. I'm thinking of all the man. We have talked a lot, and I'm thinking about all the things we've talked about. And what I love about you is, you're the first one who told me about possible interaction with the young ones. And you used a red ball, and that really intrigued the little ones. So talk more about that, because they are just like kids. They aren't.
Oh yeah.
They aren't
Well,
animals like a bear or something. They're more with human type of qualities.
well, the best one, and so far we still haven't found it again. So we
Mm.
had we had a dog named Choppa. He was a boxer, and he had a toy pig that was about this big, and you squeeze it, and it goes quack 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 like a pig. Well, he passed away, and so I took that toy with me over to a hunt one time, and we left it up on top of an arch, which was probably not a smart idea. But we left it on top of an arch, leaned up against a tree that was probably 10, 12 inches in diameter. Well, they come and got the pig, but apparently it made one of the big ones, mad because it broke that tree that it was leaning against into like 6 pieces
Oh my.
and laid it right beside the arch where we had left the pig. Like it was mad on purpose. It was letting us know that it was mad. But
Yeah.
the funny thing is, one of the guys that hunts in that area every now and then says he hears that pig.
Oh, 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 oh.
And one of the dog men, I threw a tennis ball up where we heard something up there in the woods. So I thought, I'm going to throw tennis balls up there. I threw 2 tennis balls up there that was marked. Well, one of them, one of our guys of ours found it. It was bit in half.
Wow. All right. Well, we're talking about biting and eating. Okay, you have advised me. We're shooting this TV pilot series, all right?
Oh yeah.
So I gotta admit, we do some things that we probably shouldn't be doing. But I did, it's like fishing. You gotta bait the hook, right?
That's it. You got to bait it.
So we have gifted, okay? And of course, with the gifting, boy, I mean, you'll go out in the woods. I've got this one location. I got a private location up here, human family. Four members of the human family have seen anywhere between 2 and 4 different Sasquatch. And it all started with a pile of rabbit pelts and innards. This human family was raising meat rabbits
Mhm.
and they sell them and all that, but they're throwing out the innards and the pelts in this one big pile. Well, once they started doing that, Sasquatch started showing up.
Oh yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
what's fun, you go out in the woods and you'll go to a place and you won't see a Sasquatch, but you start feeding them and you're going to get some activity. So
Oh
they start
yeah.
getting some activity. They call me out there. Um, I hear grunts, I get a picture off, and then where they showed me where they had originally put this pile of rabbit pelts and innards, I left a big pile of carrots. And sure enough, the next day we get a video of a Sasquatch slamming, a stick down and doing a tree knock. And then one standing in the trees just showing his face. And they just kind of look at you like that,
Yep.
and it's funny because it's about the food. And
Oh yeah.
so if you could talk more about that, and yeah, I'm going to leave it to you, the pros and cons of that kind of thing. Go ahead.
Well, they're just like any other creature. If you feed them, they will come. I mean, it's it's the honest truth. I feed the deer out here, and because I feed the deer, I have coons, possums, squirrels, turkey, and a bear that shows up to also eat because I feed the deer out here.
Right.
Which my wife got the experience while we were Bigfoot hunting because Mama Bear was laying in the backyard and she'd let her scoop the corn over and eat it.
Oh my.
And we got some beautiful pictures. I'll send you some. But Bigfoot's going to be, they're opportunists. If that's one reason people talk about deer hunting. They I don't see them deer hunting. They're smart. They're waiting till you shoot that deer. And when you shoot that deer and gut it and you turn your back and walk off, they got a free meal. They love the innards.
Wow.
So they'll clean up any gut piles. They'll clean up any kind of anything like that or dead animals. So you shoot one and you don't track it out. You don't find it. They'll find it. They're going to find that deer and they're going to eat it.
Wow.
I have found by accident, I tried to set up a camera trap to get me a Bigfoot. Unfortunately, Bigfoot's smarter than I am because they climbed the tree, destroyed my nest that I had made, laid the camera face up for me to find it, and I had baited it with honey peanut butter in a jar. They cleaned that jar out.
Whoa. So they love peanut butter.
They love peanut butter, especially the honey peanut butter. But I think they love anything that they can find that has they love sweets.
Okay.
Everybody I've talked to that's put sweets out gets more reaction from the Bigfoot than they do from anything else, like carrots, honey, biscuits with like butter or honey on them.
Ooh.
Anything like that you put out there, they'll find it in a heartbeat. Them and the bears.
Wow. And I get the impression, I really get this impression, they're always hungry. They're always by water, and they're always and the fresher the water, the better, like high flowing rivers. And then they're always hungry. So
oh yeah. Well, you think about it. I mean, you're an 8-foot creature or bigger, moving all the time. They're going to burn some calories up. I mean, they're burning up. And the thing is, what we have noticed here more than anywhere else is they seem to have a daytime group and a nighttime group. The daytime will set up, it looks to me like, now I could be wrong, it could be the same group, but they set up ambush traps. They break limbs as signs of where they're doing this stuff at. And then when the night group comes out to hunt, all this stuff's set up for them. So all they got to do is take advantage of getting the food and bringing it back to the rest of them.
okay.
It's like they work together just like humans would. You go out, you set your blind up, you set up your tree stand, whatever you're going to hunt out of, you get that set up, and then you go back out when it's time to hunt, and you hunt. Well, they do the same thing. They're smart. They're really smart about what they're doing. And the thing about here more than like out west, and even probably up in Michigan too, I think you're going to find out, they don't hibernate. I mean, they don't migrate. You get family units move into groups here, and they stay in those family units.
Yeah, that's what it seems. They might switch locations, like up and down, head north and south, and on a river, so to speak. But they never seem to stay in one place too long along that river. They seem to rotate a bunch of places, like where maybe they sleep during the daytime or what
Yeah.
have you.
And I think they don't move as much here as they probably do there, because I think we have more cave system than what you guys probably do. And
Oh
I
yeah,
think
most
they're
definitely.
taking advantage of that. We're in the
Yeah,
mountains, so there's caves.
yeah. I
So
was
I
down
mean,
at the I was down Uhari, is that how I say it? Uhari
you
National
are, yeah,
Forest? Uhari. So that's the only place I've been. I'm coming down, whether it be Myrtle Beach or whatever, we're getting together and we're going out. And man, I'm excited about that. I gotta get in better. I gotta get in better shape before I come see you. I'm in
no,
Michigan, man. It's all flat here.
just don't let Tim take you up there to that one place. Son, he about killed us.
Okay,
We went
okay.
up like this and leveled off, and we went way down the way. Then we went up again, and then we went over. We went up again, and we went all the way over. That's, of course, that second level we went up. See, third level we went up is where that one tried to take my head off with a rock.
Oh my. Threw it
Yeah,
at you.
I mean, it missed me. I could hear the wind off the rock. It was about the size of a baseball when it come by my
Holy.
head. And
Was it trying to hit you, or it just was trying to
I think
intimidate
it's
you?
trying just to distract me, because when we went on up, that's when I seen that second little one I say I've ever seen. Because I seen it, we were looking up the hill, up the mountain, and the sun was coming down, and all of a sudden these robins started flying down towards us, which robins in the wild don't fly towards humans. And they started flying towards us. We looked up, and there's this little one about 3.5 foot tall run across and then dropped down behind some brush. So we moved over to get a better look at him, and he jumped back up and he shot back across over to another area, and he just went down on all fours and disappeared. I don't know if he
Wow.
crawled back out or if there was a hole there he went into or what. But he was moving, boy.
Wow. Okay, so we're gonna get you back for a second episode, all right? And this
All right.
this episode, I love it because we're talking about Bigfoot, and we're gonna end it on a note here in a second. And then I want to bring you back for a second episode where you're not just a Bigfoot guy. You're all paranormal stuff. So I'm gonna bring you back for a second episode. We're going to talk about that. But right now, I kind of want to end this episode. And I
Okay.
love this because you and I don't necessarily agree on this. It's not that we disagree, but we're all formulating. And this is the important thing in the Bigfoot world, everybody,
Yes, it is.
is that you have got to formulate your opinions on what Bigfoot are. And then the hard part is respecting other people's point of view. So now, we've talked before. I'm unsure when I say this, like if they're all bad or if some of them are good and some of them are bad. But a lot of my thought process is just how I grew up. It's the
Mhm.
biblical narrative of how they connect to the Bible, possibly, and being the offspring of the Nephilim. And so then that comes in the boogeyman, and oh my goodness, that's a scary thing. So let's talk about your opinion and what you think these things might be.
I personally believe, now this is purely my thoughts
Hmm.
only. That's even actually in my first book you got.
Okay.
Uh, I actually believe that they are the descendants of giants. But the giants that were here in America, for example, I mean, the red-headed giants that were here, there's proof that the giants were here. They're talked about in all of the Indian legends and about their coming to America. It's talked about in the Lovelock Caves and all that out in Nevada. And I think what happened was when the Indians came over from over in Asia, when they come over the land bridge, they come over in such force and they run into these giants. And the giants were cannibals. So the giants would attack them and eat them. So they come over with such force, they actually killed off and run the giants out of the areas they were in, like the Cherokee and all that, I mean, the Choctaw and all that, run them all off in this area and forced them. Basically, I think they forced them into the cave systems. So
Okay.
they went like subterranean for a while. That's why they went from wearing like maybe loincloths or pants or anything like that, or in shoes, to not wearing anything. That's how that developed. That myocardial break developed because they were actually grew and developed inside these caves where they had more hair come over them for heat and comfort. And that's how that myocardial break deformed, where they could move across rocks and sticks and all that in the woods without actually hurting their feet.
Wow.
And if you look at their foot patterns and you look at what the giants, like the shoes they found in Lovelock Caves, they took a Bigfoot casting that was, I'm leaning towards 20 inches long, and they took that casting and they set it inside the shoe they found in the Lovelock, and it was a perfect fit for that sandal.
Wow.
And
There you
that's
go.
what makes me lean towards that, because there was giants all over the world, and there's Bigfoots all over the world. Now, I'm not saying all the ones are giants. They may be different ancient tribes that reverted into being a Bigfoot type character. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? Because
Yeah.
every creature evolves to its environment. If the creatures are going to live, they're going to evolve to their environment.
Awesome. Fantastic, George. All right, really quick, just kind of go over. I'd mentioned it before, but I'm going to let you do it this time, where we can get your books at. We're going to wrap up this episode, but we're going to bring you right back and do a second episode talking about all the other paranormal creatures that are out there, not just Bigfoot.
All right,
So
brother.
go ahead, wrap it up. Tell us where we can get your books and everything, and where we can contact you if you want to contact George. Go for it.
You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, X, most of the social medias. I've got accounts on a lot of them. Just you go to any of them and contact me on any of those. Facebook is usually the better one because I'm usually there talking to the guys. And you can find my books at Amazon. Right now, there's 3 books out: Legends,
Right
Myths,
here.
Monsters, and Ghosts, the USA edition.
There
Legends,
it is.
Myths, Monsters, and Ghosts, the North American edition.
There it
That's
is.
it. And then you have Monsters of the World Reference Guide. That one, most people don't pay much attention to that, but I promise you, if you go check it out, there's 104 cryptid creatures in there, and there's 26 stories that were sent to me by people that had the encounters. I didn't change anything in their encounters. What they sent me is in the book. And
Fantastic.
you can
All
find
right, let's
everything.
wrap.
All my books are on Amazon.
Fantastic, George. All right, we're going to bring you right back for another episode. I'm going to put you in the green room right now. All right, everybody. George Lunsford. I love this guy, his knowledge. And what I love about George is he's even keel. You know, he doesn't get emotional. He doesn't get upset, because there is a lot of conflict in the Bigfoot world with differences of opinion and all of that. But hey, thanks for tuning in to episode 16 of the Bigfoots of America podcast show. And we're going to bring George right back for episode 17. So stay tuned, and we'll see you soon.